Let's decode this painting by starting with the words Erwin Panofsky used to describe it. This, too high for my wit, I shall omit. Why start here? If Panofsky is stumped, then decoding Hieronymus Bosch's most famous work must be a difficult task. Well, it is, but it's yielded tons of readings of this image. Over the centuries, alchemy has been the enduring link that has not challenged the myriad of explanations, but in fact has united them. I argue that the alchemic subtext in the Garden of Earthly Delights proves that the nudes in the middle panel are not morally depraved sexual deviants, but rather they symbolically illustrate the child's play step in the goals of the alchemical process. While the Garden of Earthly Delights initially appears as an allegory of original sin, the triptych's imagery lends itself to a more nuanced understanding. If you read the image beginning with the exterior and move from left to right, in the interior, a biblical narrative logically follows. Adam and Eve, paradise, paradise lost. However, Fra Jose Sequenza, one of the first connoisseurs and scholars of Bosch's paintings, who wrote for Philip II of Spain, an avid patron and sport of alchemy, described Bosch's work as macaronic, or that he would introduce imagery from one context into another. In the light of this, themes of alchemy make sense, but where do we see it? According to Lorinda Dixon, the triptych as a whole can be read as an allegory of the alchemical process, beginning and ending with the exterior panels. On the exterior, the words, "For he spoke and it was," and "By his commands they were created," appear in Latin. The goal of alchemy was to create a substance that would restore health to the sick and paradise to the world, as Dixon puts it. The words in Latin align alchemists' goals with the goals of God. The chemist would then combine materials of opposite properties in the first step. They would then let those materials interact as they will in the second step, known as child's play. Considering alchemy never was really successful, the alchemists would discard their previous experiments and begin a new one. They would always have to start from scratch. Thus, they would end where they originally began. But how does this prove that these guys right there are not sexual deviants? Well, if we look at the middle panel again, we can see it as the offspring of Adam and Eve's at play, or the moment before the flood, sort of a Sodom and Gomorrah type of scene. However, when we look at the middle panel, in light of the alchemical process, we can see that it is the second step where opposite elements come together, different materials interact to create a new whole. So the middle panel illustrates not only the alchemical crossbreeding of opposite elements, but also shows an example of a paradise that the alchemists were seeking. Still not convinced that these nudes are not sinners? Well, if you compare Bosch's depictions of sinners, say in the Seven Deadly Sins, the nudes in this image are tortured, disfigured, miserable. Nothing like the beautiful, young, joyous creatures in this image. While the readings of the triptych in terms of piety, morality, or specific biblical events, like the flood or Genesis, are not incorrect, they limit the triptych's meaning and fail to acknowledge the dominance of the popular scientific thought of Bosch's time, which was alchemy. By viewing the Garden of Earthly Delights in this perspective of life cycles, beginning, a middle, and an end, and a rebirth, the Garden of Earthly Delights opens itself up to be understood by a wider range of viewers without ostracizing references from Christianity. I think the more legible the painting is, the better.